Have you ever discovered something absolutely amazing and you couldn't figure out why no one has ever heard about it? Well, most likely, whoever started it probably sucks at telling stories. So today, we're going to speak about the power of storytelling, in particular content creation for Web3 founders. Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. So when you first hear that, you might be thinking, well, Web3 founders, content creation, those things are two worlds apart. I mean, content creators are usually Web 2. So why would a Web3 founder be interested in creating content? Well, I can definitely tell you, as the example I spoke about with the amazing discovery of whatever business or product or app or whatever it was, well, most likely it just isn't being spoken about. Nobody knows about it whatsoever. And a lot of times that's what happens right here in Web3s, whether it is an NFT project, someone's coming up with a new blockchain, or you're trying to start a marketing agency that's going to use this technology to then serve businesses. Well, a lot of the times the solutions are there, the technology is there. However, nobody knows about it. That is one of the huge problems that we have here in the NFT community and Web3 builders, crypto curious people, whatever you want to call us, that we are so heavily reliant on the technology itself. So when it comes to founding a business or a project and trying to communicate that with the public, a lot of people focus on that rather than telling the stories as to why it is important, how it's going to benefit the public as a whole. And when you come to storytelling, you might be familiar with traditional methods of sitting around a campfire and telling stories about the hunt parties and the woolly mammoths and wolves and all of these different things. And that's just been passed down generation through generation. Everyone loves a good story. We gather, we tell stories, we listen to the best speakers and whoever's best at reenacting and telling something, putting the most life into it. That is usually the person that has all the attention at our cookouts, our parties, or whatever. But here's the thing. That isn't usually a very scalable model because a lot of the times you have to be face to face. So whether that means gathering around that campfire, you're going door to door, you're sitting around a table or whatever it might be, that doesn't really scale very well and reach out to the masses. When you're trying to build a business, that is very hard to do. So the beautiful thing about this is where it all bridges and comes together with Web 2, Web 3 and all that. And really, for the most part, we shouldn't draw a line in it because it's just technology and it's all going to be used in the same way. And when it comes to storytelling, there's no better way to tell a story at scale than leveraging technology. A lot of times it has a negative connotation, being a content creator or an influencer or whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to starting a business, marketing anything, getting a product out there, an idea, and again, it doesn't really limit this just to Web3, NFT technology, and blockchain. When you're trying to do any of this stuff, you're going to have to communicate it. So any of these founders that just really neglect content is doing a disservice to everyone that is associated, whether you are a holder of that NFT or you're a potential client that could be getting the benefit from this. If the founder of that particular project, that protocol, whatever it is not communicating this, creating content, putting it out there, doing a huge disservice to everybody that is involved. Because love it or hate it, we are all on social media platforms. We're all on different ones. It doesn't matter if you are a fan of watching video, listening to audio, you like looking at images or reading text. There's a platform for you. There's something out there for every single one of us. And out of 7 billion people on the planet, I doubt it very much that you can find 1 billion people that are not on at least one of these platforms using them on a semi-regular basis. But I know, coming into the space, Web3 and everything, people sort of frown on the whole content thing, and a lot of things are being done wrong, and that is why there's even more of a negative connotation, because you often will hear things like, oh, we only can find people on Twitter that are interested in what we're doing. If we try to go to another platform, well, the interest just isn't there. Nobody really cares about Web3 over on Instagram. Have you ever heard founders say things like that? Or maybe the team members? That's usually because they're just not very good at telling the story. And the point when they're going over to those other platforms, it's because they're just trying to sell whatever it is that they've already built. They're trying to push it over there, and they're realizing that really the interest isn't there. So as far as content, putting things out there, getting the story out there, that really should be done early, even before the idea is fully baked, in my opinion. By the time you have a well-polished product or service, NFT project, protocol, whatever it is, by that point, people are going to go into selling mode, and that it's already built. Now they're trying to get it out the door, trying to get attention already. And there's a huge problem with doing so, because at that point, They've already invested so much time, energy, and money. In many cases, they might have some founders or whatever that want to see a return on their investment. And there's a lot of pressure in trying to get this thing to get off the ground, because once this thing's already built, they're incurring all sorts of expenses, whatever it is, staff overhead, maybe it is maintenance, you name it. It could be a lot of things. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on selling. So those projects are actually trying to create awareness and sell at the same time, which is very difficult to do. Selling to people that have no idea who you are, what you do, what problems you solve, that is incredibly hard. Take that as someone who has been in sales before. I don't know, hopefully that you've at least encountered some level of sales, and maybe you're not a professional salesperson, but I think at some point in life, you're trying to promote something, whether it is for your career or it is in your personal life. But it is so much easier to convince someone to do what you hope they would do if they already know what that thing is. And that's why it is important to start telling the story way before the thing is built, way before it is shipped, and everything is in place, because selling and spreading awareness at the same time, very difficult to do. But here's the thing too, as the story is being told, this is being communicated to people out there, it also helps to shape the project, the direction in which it is going, how it is going to be built. For example, you might start to notice certain things are being used a lot in the community, the people that are most interested in certain words, certain languages. That could help to shape the name of whatever project it is, if there's characters in it, help to build the roadmap, the wording that is used in that, or even the imagery on the website. All these different things could come from the engagement and the interaction that is being fostered by the content and the story that is being put out there. And understanding the audience's language is very important, because once you understand that, you also know how to speak to those pain points, those things that are going to help them to make the decision, whether it is to make a purchase, it is to invest into this thing, or maybe get on board to help to promote it to their friends, whatever it might be. If you're using that same language that they're accustomed to, that they're used to, associating with whatever problem that this is going to solve or whatever community is going to connect to, it just makes it that much easier to promote it. And if you've been speaking that language over a period of time, well, when it comes to sell time, there's going to be an instant connection, because there's going to be history using that language, and that person is going to be familiar with what is going on. So that story is just going to resonate that much more with them when it comes time to make a purchase. So I know when you hear the words content creation and telling stories and all that, you might not necessarily think of NFTs and Web3 projects or whatever, but it is very important. That is a key part of the whole thing that is missing from a lot of projects. And believe it or not, a lot of projects will either fail or succeed based on how they are able to communicate that. The storytelling ability, if you will, of that team often dictates whether it's going to be a success or a failure. Because on the flip side of the coin, I'm pretty sure that you've seen some projects that is a massive success, and you're trying to figure out, well, what's so special about this? If you peel back the layers of the onion and you actually dig into it and look, you'll probably see that, you know what, there is a lot of similarities between failed projects. So what really separates them? 9 out of 10 times is going to come down to their ability to tell a story, their ability to communicate what they're trying to accomplish and how they can relate to other people. They're using that language, they're striking a chord with them and what have you. So that is why it's really important to get that down. And I think most projects tend to build out, they roll out the technology, they then try to sell it, and then after the fact, they decide to build a brand or tell a story or start putting out content. And that's really to a detriment to it, because if you're trying to play catch up, like it's already out the gate, it's already out the door, and then at that point you're trying to tell a story, you'll see that is very difficult. And you can speak to countless projects that launched during the peak of the bull market that really thought they had to get their idea out of the door because this is hot. You have to strike while the iron is hot, right? Well, a lot of those projects then realized that they're going to have to tell some stories. They're going to have to create content. And you can ask any team member. That is so hard to do, because it's like they're trying to build the muscles when they need to lift the weight, if that makes sense. It is so much easier to be in the gym, you're lifting and doing all these different things and working on the muscles and flexing the content machine, if you will, and then when you need it, be able to use it, as opposed to having 1,000 pounds to lift up and this is your very first time trying to break a sweat. So when it comes to creating these NFTs and creating these Web3 projects and what have you, it is easy to say, you know what, we're not content creators. We're not in the content business. We'll leave that to the marketers and the influencers and so forth and the podcasters. Well, no, have to look at it as we're all in the business of storytelling. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get a job at your local business, you're trying to get finance from your local credit union, you're pitching your idea on Shark Tank, or you're on a Twitter space with, I don't know, Elon Musk and 100,000 people. You're going to need to tell a story. And here's the thing. The reason why you should start right now is because most likely you're not going to be very good at telling that story. However, by telling that story, you can refine it, you can get better at it. And when it comes time to sell whatever it is that you're going to sell or promote, those muscles will already be built and in place. I think that is a nice place to leave you with something to think about. So please feel free to let me know what your thoughts are on this, how storytelling and content creating fits into Web3. As usual, I can be found on Twitter at Tropic Vibes or using contact information in the show notes. But as usual, I just want to thank you for taking time to listen to this as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later. The Nifty Business Arrow is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.